Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422. With us in studios, the Senator, Murang'a County, Joy Newtu. Good morning.
Good morning, Ayub.
Senator, lovely having you here. Thanks for making time. And Faith Odhiambo is the president, the Law Society of Kenya, who joins us this morning as well. Faith, good morning.
Good morning.
We're expecting the presence of Geoffrey Ruku and Javas Bigambo here on the broadcast. Lady and gentlemen, let's begin with the highlights of the major highlights of the week, and this, I'm sure, is an area of concern. Police in Kiambu County are probing the death of the Kirinyaga MCS daughter, and as well yesterday, police had confirmed the body of Wells Fargo HR director who was found in Siaya County after he went missing. And generally, coming to you, Madam President, it appears that there is a great concern about this whole issue of human rights and the violations that are happening in our country.
I would want to say that first, we are seeing more and more the police dropping the ball. We have a new Inspector General of Police, and I think part and parcel of his responsibilities should be taking up some of these cases strongly, not just the kind of force that we see keeps on being meted against protesters. Just yesterday, we were getting distress calls from students of Nairobi Polytechnic with regards to the demonstrations they'd had. But the question is, what measures are being set in place because of the scores of killings? Even yesterday, we saw a statement from Federation of Women Lawyers with regards to the various number of women that have been killed, and these cases have not been resolved to date. And so in terms of human rights violations, we continue to see various cases coming up, and there's a lot of mum. We are not hearing what the Inspector General of Police is doing, what he has set in place, what changes that he, the Director of Public Prosecutions, measures that they're also taking in terms of having a hard stance towards the kind of killings that we're seeing in this nation, because we cannot continue to see people, and the worst thing, even the HR director, that he was handcuffed. So the question is, was he under police custody, or was this other assailants that had bought handcuffs? It is quite disheartening to hear such things, and we don't see any statement, any remarks made by the National Police Service to at least assure Kenyans what action are they taking.
Senator, coming to you, this is a concern on two fronts. One of the missing Kenyans who the government hasn't accounted for, more than 130, and these killings. Isn't this an indictment on our criminal justice system to investigate such cases so very fast and bring the required answers?
Thank you, Ayub. I think, as you have stated, it's the responsibility of the police, the investigative agencies, to see to it that any crime committed has been thoroughly investigated and culprits brought to book. It has been a very disturbing trend, and especially the latest, where we have several ladies killed. I think the police can do better. You have also pointed to missing, especially youths, following the June 25th protests by Gen Z. And I think every Kenyan is disturbed that somebody can just disappear, and some months down the line, the police do not have anything substantive that they tell us, in spite of the massive investment in those investigative bodies. But allow me also to say, Ayub, that I think to talk to parents, that because most of these cases, especially femicide cases, have some link to online activities. And so maybe to just talk to everybody, young people, that as they engage on social media, they should be very careful whom they engage with. If you're meeting somebody for the first time, make sure you have a friend or somebody, because you just cannot afford to meet a stranger that you have just been chatting on, with online. So I think it should be a multifaceted approach because it's a very disturbing trend of events.
Okay, so all again boils down to the role of the institution of parenting. Javas, good morning.
Good morning, Ayub. How are you today?
Lovely having you here.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate the invitation.
Thanks for making time for the broadcast.
Great.
A fundamental question, is it, about missing Kenyans, and on the other end, the questions about the need for the investigation of these processes and the lacking answers from the government regarding these killings. It raises fundamental question, is it?
Sure, thank you, Ayub. Of course it does. You see, increasingly the tapestry of governance is becoming increasingly complex with issues of accountability, especially on the part of the duty bearers, and particularly when you realize that citizens feel a bit unnerved by certain cases that go either unreported or investigations not done conclusively to the satisfaction of the relatives, families, and even general citizens. I say this with clear appreciation of the most recent cases of femicide in this country. I have seen even some of the civil society organizations, including FIDA, raising concerns about this. But beyond this, if we look at these numbers, we must drive ourselves to the conclusion that even just one case of murder that is not clear, murder that is not on God's itinerary or plan, is too much. And various institutions now are in the eye of the storm. We have got the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. People start asking critical questions. To what extent is this entity doing its work satisfactorily? What encumbrances is this entity facing? Is it a question of resourcing? Is it a question of equipment? Is it a question of technology? The other thing is that what contributory factors are there on the part of even victims in these cases? But beyond that, I think it has come to a point where the legislature in this country should critically probe, show keener interest on these issues of these deaths. The other thing is that institutions such as IPOA as well, whether it will be a question of having it expanded with expanded mandate, or issues to do with the issue of scaling up the capacity of investigating agencies, including police officers, it may be very important. Because sitting here in this chair this morning, I think I'm a disturbed Kenyan that these cases are becoming a bit too many.
And Faith, how then have you followed up on this, given your active undertakings and the admission made by the interior CS of the missing Kenyans, and as well these cases that are coming up of femicide cases and killings that are under investigation?
So first of all, even stemming from the Gen Zs, we are coming up with a petition that we will give recommendations to the head of state with regards to what we witnessed during the Gen Z protests, the number of killings and the forced disappearances, and what we hope to see. As we come up that we are nominating commissioners to sit in IPOA, we hope to see, I'd say, members that actually have teeth. We don't want to see apologists of the state or politicians who vied for positions and failed to get those positions and now are being given rewards to sit, because those are now the challenges that we see independent institutions that are being crippled. And further, with regards to IPOA, we need to see a change in the law to allow IPOA to be more independent. And secondly, to allow IPOA to be able to publish to the citizens, even as it hands over the reports to the Director of Public Prosecution. It will bring some level of transparency, because the challenges that they keep on raising with being frustrated in the investigations, from the reports or the sessions we have had with them, they've been able to raise the fact that there were frustrations by the former IG with regards to when they would summon police officers. The said police officers would be told not to attend, or they would be told they're on duty out of town, or that they will only attend when they have an advocate, and they would ensure that they cannot have legal representation on the dates that they are called, and they keep pushing and pushing. So these are elements that continue frustrating, and that we cannot actually see perpetrators held to account, and that would need to see an IPOA that has more powers with regards to summoning and sanctioning any police officers who refuse to cooperate with regards to investigations that are being undertaken. That also said, we have also raised these situations to the IG and the DCI with regards to the cases that we have received, and we have been able to follow some. The Law Society is also filing cases for various members who have lost loved ones because of any instances with the police. And those are the kind of interventions that we've been trying to have. The question of femicide is a bigger question that we need to deal with as a nation. It's the responsibility of the DCI and the Inspector General of Police to be able to investigate these cases and give us tangible solutions. When we're talking about the purported serial killer, he how can I say, he coincidentally escaped.
Broke out of cell.
Yes, and to date he's never been found. And this coming from a country that investigations are carried out in record time when the political temperature deems it fit. And so the instance that we have seen that this purported serial killer has disappeared, nothing has been done to date. The deaths that were evidence of the number of deaths that were collected in Kware, we have not gotten a way forward in what they're trying to do with regards to the same. And also this new spate of femicide that we are seeing, we need to see answers and hold these offices accountable. Yeah.
And Senator Newton, besides this, there's also the question of the Turkish nationals who are repatriated as admitted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This still comes down to, is it the issue of human rights? And do you think that we risk a violation of not only domestic laws, but also international laws, which may end up tainting our reputation as a country?
Yes, Ayub, talking about the Turkish nationals, that reminds me about the repatriation again of one Abdullah Öcalan.
Yes.
And I think we need to review our systems, because if somebody is, has ran away from their country to come and seek for refuge, because of course they are endangered in their countries because of whatever, maybe for fighting for human rights, for example, because that is what the case of Abdullah Öcalan was. Then I think it's against even, humanity to repatriate the same person. I mean, somebody cannot run away for refuge to you and then you hand them back to their enemies. And I think there are laws governing, and the lawyers are here, Faith is here, governing, how you're supposed to treat refugees. So I think it's a very, very, very risky, because, like you say, we are then breaking international laws and conventions, and I think we need to do the right things. But talking about the question of again these femicides and murders, and I've listened to the president of the Law Society of Kenya very keenly. I think IPOA needs to be, reformed. We also need to ask ourselves, are Kenyans safe in the hands of the police? And I say this because when there are atrocities committed by the police, of course, and IPOA comes in, of course, there'll be some legal procedures and processes. And this reminds me the case of lawyer Willie Kimani, who was pursuing the rights violation of rights of a particular, his client. And of course, everybody knows what happened. So I think we need to think very hard. How do the police access firearms? When are they supposed to access firearms? Are they accountable? Exactly how do you hold a police officer to account while you are supposed to report a violation of your right again to the police? Exactly how will the police act against their fellow police officers? And I think it's something that...
But there's the intervention of IPOA. If that's if it picks up the case.
Of course, there is that intervention.
Yes.
But even as IPOA investigates, and that's why I mentioned the case of Wakili Kimani. I mean, anybody, even that investigative role as it is being done, whoever is, is involved in this, is of course also at risk because police officers, of course, are licensed or are allowed to carry firearms, and they, misuse them. Most of the time. So we need to think harder than we have been doing.
Okay, and Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely having you on the broadcast.
Thank you so
much
much
for making time.
Thank you.
A lot is happening, including cases that are under active investigations, including the body of a man who was yesterday confirmed as of the missing Wells Fargo HR. In Thika, police are probing the death of Kirinyaga MCA's daughter, the Kware killings, missing Kenyans. And we seem to be brushing all this under the carpet while focusing on other happenstances in the country. How key do you think this should be given an attention to?
I think any rife roster should be taken so seriously by the government of the day. There should be no abductions, there should be no extrajudicial killing. Any person who has disappeared or lost, the government should be in a position to account for that person. We have many who have not been seen for quite a number of years. For instance, my friend Mwanda Bijiwe, nobody knows where he disappeared to. So I think any life that is lost should be accounted for in a most appropriate way. And the government of the day and all the instruments of government, especially the police and those who are in charge of criminal investigations, should be able to tell Kenyans or relatives of those who are lost, those who have been killed, what exactly happened. So there should be no excuse whatsoever in terms of protecting lives of Kenyans.
Okay. So when we get back from the break, ladies and gentlemen, we focus our attention to what has been happening in the courts yesterday following the three-judge bench who partly also accused the legal team of the Deputy President of intimidation, but said that the Deputy Chief Justice has powers to appoint the bench, but the lawyers of the Deputy President have impeached Deputy Presidents, have already signaled their intention to appeal that ruling, the consequences of the same, and as well the proposal to increase term limits for all elective positions in the country. We'll be discussing that when we get back from the break here on the broadcast station.